Hey, Olya, how are you?
Hello, Dennis. All good.
Yeah, good, good, good. So I appreciate you taking some time to chat with me
Thanks for
today.
having me.
Yeah. So as you know, we just recently put out a report where we went and surveyed over 400 app growth marketers on a variety of topics. There's some interesting insights that came out of the report, and I'm really hoping to just ask you a few questions and we'll have a conversation. So in the survey, we found that three-quarters of marketers are now updating ad creatives at least every 2 weeks or more. So we've seen that there's an increase in creative design and testing. So these cycles accelerating, from your experience, how are teams rethinking the user journey to sustain performance without overloading creative workflows?
That's a classic growth marketers one. Does creative matter? Absolutely. But how often you need to update it really depends on the vertical, on seasonality, on promos you're running. And one important shift we're seeing is teams becoming more data driven about how they approach the creatives. Now, when shifting small tweaks is becoming more and more accessible, like changing the color and headline is not a big deal, but neither necessarily drives the performance. While if you keep an eye on the KPIs and CTR per placement, for example, you will always know when creative is not performing anymore. And just because it has been 2 weeks doesn't mean you need to update the creative. It, of course, requires teams to be very proactive on managing the KPIs. And with us being a full service platform, we have to cover our clients on both checking the benchmarks and updating the creatives on our side. So that being said, programmatic audiences are extremely wide. So it's not necessarily the channel where creative updates are that important, but you need to be data driven about when you do this.
Why is it then that we are seeing these teams like speed up the life cycle of designing and testing more ad creatives? Why? What's driving that then? If they think it's like we can get better performance, is it, hey, we're starting to use some generative AI tools that kind of speed things up? Why are we seeing this as an increased focus?
Yeah, exactly. I think we even have evidence of it in the report itself, because a lot of teams simultaneously have reduced their energy on creating the creatives. So basically, AI is making this sometimes unnecessary move to make team thinks that updating creatives is so easy. So you should update it as soon as, I don't know, 2 weeks span is. And there is always an expectation that since you have made these updates to the creative, the performance will boost up. But what we are seeing is in reality, if you're changing the narrative, if you're consciously changing something in the creative, it can boost the performance. You're promoting something, you're trying to nail down your offering and this kind of stuff. But when you're just tweaking some small little things with AI, not using enough energy into the creative, it wouldn't affect performance, at least for the programmatic channel, too much. I would say keeping teams reasonable about what they do with creatives is very important now in the epoch of AI and all those tweaks being so easy and accessible.
Interesting. That your opinion is definitely interesting about this. So I know that from past experience that creative testing typically falls into two buckets. One bucket is doing like incremental tests and improvements to creative, right? Which can often get help improve performance, but then it'll often tap out at some point. And then the other type of creative testing will be developing like testing concepts, like entirely different concepts, right? Like this concept testing. And typically what I've seen is when you kind of get to the point where you're like, hey, we're playing with font, button size, image, and so on. When that kind of runs its course, then typically what I've seen is like companies will then say, let's start doing some like new, larger concept testing. And so
Exactly.
that's what I've seen.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. And really, what I hear you saying is, listen, there's a growing number of tools that make it easy to start, generating and testing, like doing these incremental tests. But just because these tools are out there doesn't mean, I think is it because they're out there, don't expect to see significant performance gains or
I would
from what
say it's about not relying fully on the tools, and AI can help us in many cases, but it's important to keep ourselves in the driver's seat. If you want to change the concept, if you want to run a promo that's a different creative. You need to put some human effort into it, not just changing colors or tweaking the font. Hardly would help with the client to really digest better if it's in narrower or wider type font.
Yeah, understood. Cool. Well, let me ask you another question. It's in the report, we are seeing that increasingly, no surprise, growth marketers are applying AI in different ways to the creative life cycle, from production to testing and optimization. So what do you think distinguishes like an effective use of AI from just plugging in another tool and hoping to get better performance from it? So I think there's like, what is an effective application of AI that you're seeing in market?
Yeah, I guess I might be a bit repetitive here, but I mean, AI is unavoidable. So, previously, we have seen the machine learning taking a lot of human decisioning over in uh, running campaigns and performance advertising, and doing it really well. Similar is happening to AI. It it automates routine operations. It helps with analyzing performance of AI campaigns. And it's not only about creatives. It's just in general. We need to keep the ownership of the results we're getting. And that's exactly why we're keeping focus on giving transparent reporting and very granular reporting to our clients, because it helps us also to being able to analyze why this or that result has come into the play, as opposed to blindly following the AI recommendations. So basically being able to track back what is the reasoning behind AI is the main thing I would keep an eye when adding one more AI tool to our workflow.
Okay, so I understand. I actually think what you're raising is interesting. Specifically, that like one area, because I actually think that one area where maybe it's not there yet, but one area where AI is a perfect application for is analyzing data and coming back with insights and recommendations and suggestions. It's still in its infancy. I would have to imagine that like many different ad tech companies, I'd have to imagine that this is an area that many ad tech companies are investing in right now, because the value seems so obvious to me, that if you can like apply AI to generate like human, analyze data and generate results that a human can read and understand, and then take action against. I think this is a really excellent application of AI. But to your point, and I think it's especially because it's still, I mean, we're a couple of years in here, 2.5 years, still early, trust but verified.
Exactly. And take time compute. AI is tied to every model is trained to give you quicker results without analyzing data too profoundly. And that's exactly where we need to manage AI. So we're experimenting with data analysis. And what we're seeing is that basically when AI is giving its first came result, it's not necessarily useful, and sometimes it's even misleading. But when you're using it kind of out of the knowledge you already have about campaign performance, you can validate the result, and you can ask AI, wait, take time compute, process it a little more, and now kind of come with better results. And only when it's in the state when we are believing the results, we can actually use it for our workflows and use it in our everyday campaign analysis, for example.
Yeah. So I have a follow-up question to this. What is Bidease? How is Bidease right now applying AI?
I would keep us honest that all of the applications of AI are now in experimentation phase. There we're doing it across the board. And the first is exactly what you mentioned. So we have a lot of data, and we're running a lot of experimentation with performance. And all those experiments can be kind of user generated, like we have a hypothesis, or we also can apply AI based on our data and logic behind, like under the hood logic. And we have our proprietary model with which we're now experimenting with exactly campaign analysis. So give us ideas how we can experiment more with that, or what can be applied. Not everything is useful as of now, but that's a matter of iterations, right? You're source more data, you analyze it, you correct AI on their decisioning and apply it again. So that's what we're doing right now.
So we've built our own LLM.
We're using the LLM from ChatGPT, OpenAI.
Yeah, cool. This is good. This is starting to get interesting. I mean, I have another question for you. So I mean, you have like an amazing. I really like you have an amazing work history and background. And I know that you've worked on both like strategic and operational sides of product delivery within like an ad tech environment. So what's often, what's often misunderstood about, when you're aligning cross-functional teams uh, behind hitting certain goals?
That's a great one. Honestly, the more I work in both strategic and operational side of this, I realized that cross-functional collaboration can be nailed down to a couple of very basic things. And first of all, it is cross-company alignment. You need to bet and commit to your gut and have a clear story why you're going in this particular direction and make your bet. That keeps the whole company and the whole team aligned on what we're doing and why we're doing these particular things. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're not going to be agile on the way in how we deliver it, but that's about having some common goal in mind. That allows effective collaboration and it allows to be connected with the whole team because we know what we are doing and what we're targeting at. So the second piece is about having a very transparent environment where everybody is welcome to ask provocative or let's call it stupid questions. And gladly enough, we're exactly working in this environment where all questions are welcomed and you can come to any chat. You can ask machine learning team kind of, I do not understand why this works, or it shouldn't work according to my understanding. Can you explain it to me? And all the team will be welcoming. So basically setting up this environment of openness and being ready to challenge what is exactly working is something which brings this, engine to the cross-functional collaboration when sales can come to marketing and then technical team can ask back questions on kind of how does it work? How does my feature work in the market? As opposed to sales asking kind of how does it work? How do I explain it to client? When this connection happens, that's actually what drives the whole cross-functional work on particular target which was set in the very beginning.
Yeah, makes sense. So the last question I have for you is, Bidease is a company that's really set our North Star in creating an experience that makes our customers feel at ease. From your experience, what does that look like internally?
That's a great one. I would narrow down it to a couple of things which allow us to do this. And the first one is building a great product is not necessarily about having a lot of features under the hood. You have to have a decent amount of features, but the main thing is to solve a particular problem with as much simplicity as you can bring to the product. So basically nail down the client's problem and solve it. That's the first component. And I would say the second one, which is very important, and I see a lot of success with it in Bidease, is being curious about what clients are asking. And that happens to us all the time. We're not trying to find a bigger customer and make it bigger. We're interested in every customer and treat them equally. And we're curious about customer needs. And many of our features has grown from the one particular use case, which appeared to be applicable to our client and then appeared to be really useful for the market. And then we just educate the rest about how it can be done. So I would say those two things are crucial to make product which can simplify it for our clients and actually simplify it for us internally, because basically as a full service we have to do it ourselves for each and every client. We have them covered.
Yeah, yeah, cool. That makes a lot of sense to me.